Hi, this is episode 16 of Rory's Table Tennis Topics, and we've got a new guest, which is Sam Wilson, who is the number 121 player in England. And are you number 12, I think, Sam? Is that what it is, or 11 in the men's?
Like that,
yeah. Not far off the top 10. And I'll just quickly say how I first met Sam and what age he was. He was probably about 10, and he came to a few of my training camps in my old club, which was Horsham Table Tennis Club. And also he played quite a few of my tournaments, and he won a few medals and trophies and stuff. I remember in particular, I umpired one final where he must have been about 11 or 12, where he played James Smith in the final. And I think this was the first time I'd seen you chopping. You had pimples on one side, I think, and you lost 3-1. But I remember thinking, this was good. This was a lot better than what you were before when you were playing in a different style. But anyway, Sam, you give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and your table tennis and what's happened and what's happening right now with your table tennis.
Yeah, nice one. Hi, I'm Sam Wilson. As Rory said, I'm right now the number 1 under 21 in England. I'm training full time in Sweden at the moment. I moved here October-ish. I'm 19 years old. And I'm a defender or a hybrid player, or however people want to call it. I'm sure we'll get into that.
Hybrid.
A modern defender, maybe.
There you go. Yeah.
A hybrid player. That's great. It's a great.
I like modern defender. A modern defender has to attack. Basically, the old style defenders used to just go back chopping. Nowadays, like people like Juicy Hook, they're called generally modern defenders. But yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's about it for an introduction.
Well, like, how did you get involved? Like, how did you get started in the sport? What was your first experience of table tennis? Where did you play first? That kind of thing.
My first experience of table tennis is we've got pictures of me playing around with a table tennis ball and a bat when I was 2 or younger, something like that. I didn't start playing properly until I was about 8 or 9. Then I was playing, more seriously, 3, 4, 5 times a week, something like that. And as Rory said, I went to quite a few of his camps over like Easter holidays and summer and stuff like that.
On that, I remember one time your dad lost his car keys at one of my camps, and he had to call somebody up to get a new set or something, and I had to wait. I think I waited for a couple of hours. While you were, you just played a bit of extra table tennis, as far as I remember. Anyway, on from there.
Yeah. Thank you for waiting. But
On from there.
Yeah, from there, when I was then I played from more seriously from 8 or 9 until about 12 and a half. I changed to defending when I was about 11 or 12, something like that. And then I had quite a lot of health complications that took me away from table tennis from the age of 12 and a half to 15 and a half, 16, something like that. So I didn't pick up a bat at all for 3.5 years. And then my dad had the table tennis club, and I decided I want to pick up a bat again, want to see what it's all about. So me and Adam were training down my dad's club pretty much every day, and that's kind of how my table tennis was reborn. We were just training a lot there until I got good enough and had the opportunity to come out here to Sweden to train in about a year ago now, and here I am.
Okay, cool. So you're training more or less full time in Sweden, 5 days a week. What do you didn't say? So you said on your Table Tennis Scotland show, anybody that wants to hear more about Sam and his family, definitely recommend going on the Table Tennis Scotland most recent show. I think it's called Talking to a Chopper. one of the most entertaining shows that's out there. So definitely give that a watch. On that show, you went through your schedule and you were saying you were doing basically 2 sessions a day, Monday to Friday, about 2.5 hours in the morning and again in the afternoon. Do you play at weekends at the moment, and also when there's competitions and stuff?
Yeah, so when there's competitions, you're obviously playing on the weekends. For me, and I'd say everybody else here, we just go with how we feel. If we've had a really tough week and we're really knackered, then we'll take the weekend off. But usually it's 1 session on a Saturday and nothing on a Sunday, completely rest out on a Sunday.
And do you get to train with players better than your standard, lower than your standard, same standard as you, or a mixture of all three probably?
Yeah, complete mixture of all three. I think they're really good in Eslov with selecting who you play with, giving you people better than times, not as good as you sometimes, and same level, so you can really work with everybody and find a way to improve no matter who you're playing against.
Who would you say, or how many people would you say are there who you'd say you're like 50-50 with, you're like the same standard as?
Probably a good 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And do they have so they have quite structured drills? Or I think you said in the other show that they often tell you different drills because you're a modern defender and you play a bit differently than most players.
Yeah, so they set normal exercises, but one thing I like about it is you can always go to the coach. That they usually set me different exercises because I'm a defender, but also you can always go to the coaches and say, I want to work on this. Do you have an exercise for this? And then they'll tell you this. But you've got to be, as I said on the Table Tennis Scotland show, you've got to be proactive. You've got to do it yourself. You can't expect them to know everything about your game. You've got to say, I want to work on my backhand and then this type of ball. How can I work that in? So it's more of a teamwork type of situation than more of a child and a coach like it was when I was younger.
Yeah. Now, from my own experience, I've been to Eslov every year since 2015 for their 5-day training camp.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit like Sam in my style of play. Probably attack more than Sam, but don't defend anywhere near as well. But yeah, I would be similar in that I've got long pimples on one side, mainly on the backhand, and we both twiddle. I mostly use my backhand topspin when I'm attacking on the backhand side. I don't use the pimples to attack very often. But anyway, what my experience of Eslov was, they definitely came to me a lot of the time and gave me a separate drill to work on because of the fact that, for example, if it was an irregular drill where I didn't know if the ball was coming to backhand or forehand, and I was supposed to do top spins, it didn't really work for me. If it was a regular drill where I knew where the ball was going, then I had plenty of time to twiddle, and those drills I didn't have to change. But a lot of the time, it wasn't the case. So, but I mean, other times I just took it upon myself. Like you say, you take your own initiative and you make up your own drills, something that you want to work on. And it was a bit like like you said, when I went, so the last time I went, I would have said I would probably be midway in the group in terms of the ability of the group on the camp. So it was quite a good standard. I was in 2 groups, an A group and a B group. Yeah. And I mean, it's mostly juniors, couple of adults, not many, or sorry, young adults maybe. There was a few adults, but not many. But yeah, certainly standard-wise, that's why I go to Sweden, because it's a good standard of people to train against, and the coaching is good. I do bring my phone along, and I take some notes on some of the drills that they do, and then bring them back and use some of them in my own coaching, which is good. One thing I picked up, I think it was the summer before this one, was something that I do naturally or instinctively, but didn't actually visualize it in my head, is when you're stepping in, and this is what they said on the camp. When you step in for a short ball, then you step, and if you play it back to them short, so you're playing a short push back to them.
Yeah.
You don't obviously know whether the ball's coming back long or short, so you step one step out. You don't step fully out, because if you step fully out and they go back short again, you've got no chance. And if you step, if you don't step out at all and it comes deep, then again, same thing. So if you step one step out, and then if it does come long, then you can continue out. And that was just something that they said that I hadn't really thought about, but I kind of did naturally anyway. So it's a useful camp, highly recommended. It's usually the first week of August. Okay. Now Brett, my co-host, Brett Holt, he has put together a list of quick fire questions for Sam. So I'll let Brett take over.
So in our quick fire segment, which is new to our show, so we're going to start off with so Sam, what do you feel is your strongest, your forehand side or your backhand side?
Completely depends, I've got to say, because I've got more variation on the forehand. I can attack and defend on the forehand. But
you can attack on your backhand as well, Sam. I've seen it.
Yeah, we've seen that backhand. Like, whoo.
I've seen some bullets against Michael O'Driscoll.
Yeah, I remember that match. That was fantastic. But I'd say my backhand's more consistent, probably, with the defense. So it depends.
Yeah, I would say a bit similar on my game. My forehand is, more powerful, but my backhand is, especially for chopping, is quite consistent.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brett, go on.
Brilliant. So we used to play, table tennis used to be played up to 21 points, each side. And sometimes, games, we would used to often go into what's called the expedite rule, to try and finish off that game. Now, do you prefer games of up to 11 or to 21, or would you prefer a different scoring system similar to like at the World Championships of Ping Pong?
Bear in mind, Sam's too young to have played to 21.
Yes. But the World Championships of Ping Pong, where you play up to 15 and you can call for a double point or, a different scoring system. Or do you like it, up to 11 like it is now?
Yeah, I think it'd be easy for me to say up to 11 because that's all I've ever played and that's all I'm used to. But I do notice that in the World Championships of Ping Pong with the double point ball and up to 15 and 1 point from 14-14, it really gets the fans involved. And I think that's a really, really big thing that we need in table tennis now is the fans to make the sport bigger. So I think if they did it in the right way, I think a change to something more like that could benefit the game. But
I think 11. What do you think, Brett, yourself?
Well, I personally like, the World Championships of Ping Pong scoring system, because it's crowd engaging, and when you get that tough pressure point match at like 14 all and they've still got their lifeline of a double point or whatever, I think it adds to it, I honestly think, we need something to, more crowd engaging,
Yeah, and what they've done now in the Swedish Pingisligan is from 10-10 now it's golden point in every set, which is I think it's new this season. Really interesting idea. Some people like it, some people don't.
Do you like it, Sam?
I don't play in the Swedish Pingisligan, so I've never played with it, but watching it. For me, there's a lot of pressure on that 1 point, but I think it takes away kind of a really good aspect of the game, which is 10-10, 11-11, 12-12, 13-13. Then you've got possibly like 6 or 7 or even more pressure balls, and here it's just 1 point and then it's over.
Yeah,
so
I think, but so you say you don't play in it. First of all, is that the top league in Sweden, the Pingisliga?
Yeah, Pingisligan's top league in Sweden, yeah.
So do you not play, you play in the second or you play in a different country?
I play in France and I play in Denmark this season.
Okay, for B75, is it?
No,
Yeah.
I
No?
play for VB.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it's cutting out a little bit, but yeah, I play for VB.
Okay, Brett might have some editing to do later. Okay, so next question, Brett.
If you could start out again from scratch, would you like to be a full-blown attacker or a nice, real good defender, or as a new style now, as we're calling it, the hybrid player?
I think I would choose hybrid player, the same as I'm doing now. It's I feel like I was kind of in a way born to play this style. I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot more fun. I think there's a set and clear way to win with this style in my head. So on top of me believing it's the way to win, I think it works for me as well.
I'll answer the question as well. From my point of view, I think it's really fun, like Sam says, to be able to turn defense into attack and surprise people. In some ways, it would be nice to be able to be a top attacking player without having to kind of rely on pimples, because in a way people say, oh, he only wins because of the pimples. I don't agree with that kind of mindset, but I do play with normal rubbers on quite a few occasions, and I can play to a good level as well. And it kind of, if you beat somebody and I haven't used my pimples, it's sometimes more satisfying. It's like, oh, well, I beat them without even having to use my pimples.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I'd still stick with the long pimple game, because like I say, it's really fun to kind of switch around, twiddling, mixing it up. So yeah. How about you, Matt?
So the hybrid player is new.
What about you, Brett? What about you?
I mean, when I was a young cadet, I just used to love defending. I was a bit like Sam in similar aspects. I just kept going back from the table. I couldn't, stay up, and I had a lot of training, with barriers behind me and ropes around me tied to the table to stop me, going backwards. So that's how I learned to attack. And then that's the way it was. But yeah, I mean, if I could start again, I think, I would definitely want to get back in touch with my defense style once more again. And then definitely like keep my attacking side. So yeah, hybrid play style, it's got to outweigh it. It's
3-0.
It's because I mean the joy when I was defending, when they were like doing their big massive forehands and they were like, whoa, the big ones, and you were just there like what, and just getting it back on the table, back again, and they were going for it again, and and then you would sit one up for them and they would completely miss the ball and you would go, yeah, it's a brilliant feeling. It's it was just great. That style.
Cool. Next question then, Brett.
So now on to something completely different. So what is your favourite food at the moment?
Ooh. Probably I've had to change my diet completely recently, actually, because about a month ago I got diagnosed with celiac disease. So now I've had to change everything to gluten-free, which is a bit annoying. Before that, it was pizza and stuff, but now I can't have it.
Did you always have it, but just not know about it? Or have you literally just contracted it? Or, I would have thought that would have been something you'd always have, no?
Yeah, they're not quite sure exactly. The doctor who performed the procedure on me, he said he thinks I've had it since birth. There's a lot of damage already built up, which would suggest it's from birth.
Yeah, you may not realize.
So I think that would kind of explain. A lot of the time I just didn't feel good in my body, and I'm really glad that I found this out, because I was effectively poisoning myself every day with gluten because my body doesn't have the proteins to absorb it.
And have you found that the taste of food is not so good, the gluten-free food, or is it still just as good?
I'm not really eating so much gluten-free food because I know some of it's a bit dodgy with wheat starch and so on. So I'm pretty much just eating foods that naturally don't have gluten, like rice, potato, vegetables, stuff like that.
Okay. So you didn't answer the question. What's your favorite meal?
favorite meal at the moment probably is chicken rice and fried broccoli with nice sweet chili sauce on the side. It's awesome.
That sounds good to me, mate.
For me, a traditional roast dinner. So could be like lamb or pork or beef or whatever with your meat and with your 2 veg, basically meat and 2 veg.
But I do love a good classic English breakfast. You know, you got your sausages and your beans and your egg and pork.
I love my fried breakfast as well. Brett, what's your favorite meal?
No, really. I'd probably said it's a Filipino dish, and it's called pancit. So it's a bit like noodle stir fry that you can find, you know, most Chinese takeaways over here. But it's a lot sweeter. And it's called pancit. You should look up. Very nice.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, it's good. It's an enjoyable.
Any more questions, Brett, or are we run out?
Yeah, no. Just a few more quick fire ones.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite type of music?
I've got to be honest. It's probably more uncommon for someone my age, but I don't really listen to music, to be honest. I don't know. I've never really connected with it so much. I know a lot of people like listen to music before matches, but it's never really got to me. But so I don't really listen to music. But if I had to, it'd probably just be I like a lot of like the old like 70s, 80s stuff, ABBA and stuff like that. That's what I was brought up with my parents, Genesis, stuff like that. I'm not a massive fan of this new stuff, but yeah.
For me, it's like general like pop music, chart music. I like modern stuff, but I also like, you know, stuff from the like 10, 20, 30 years ago as well.
Yeah, mine is like 1980s, like Dionne Warwick, The Wanderers.
Yeah.
You know, well, I'm the type of guy that likes it. Anyway, so last quick fire round.
Yeah.
Are you a football fan?
Yes.
And if so, what is your favourite team?
It is Sheffield United, which is not good to say. We're right at the bottom of the league.
Oh, you mentioned that on the Scotland show, didn't you?
Yeah. I think, you know, we had a really good season last season. I think we overperformed by a lot last season. I think this time last season, like halfway through the season, we were like 8th or something. But I think we're going down now. But you know,
yeah.
And for me, I'm definitely not a football fan. No interest whatsoever. Brett, how about you?
West Ham United, for the pure and passion of hammers in the heart. The London pride.
Yeah. You're the
okay. So moving on, then I've got a few questions that again, they don't have to be such long answers. So one was just to do with your club or your previous club, Corby Smash, which was set up by your dad, Colin, ex-England international. And I know he had Henry Arthur employed as a coach, and there was Tony West and people. But yeah, just give us a quick overview of the kind of challenges that he came across, setting it up, maintaining it, and then the eventual demise of the venue that you had, and what's happening now with the club as well.
Yeah, well, initially there was a lot of money to set it up. So you know, he rented a big warehouse space. So he needed to get the floor, the lights, the tables, bats, balls, put showers in it, put proper toilets in it and stuff. Do all up, paint all of it. So there's a lot of startup cost. And then the ongoing cost as well was a lot. And we were losing a lot of money until we didn't start breaking even until it was probably a couple of years into starting up the business. And that was just due to you just couldn't get enough customers because
did he ever start earning more per month than he was spending at any point?
Well, towards the end he was earning, if I'm right about this, he was earning a little bit more than it was costing, but it was never a good business type of, like a good money-making tool for him.
It was a very ambitious project, I think, because it was kind of an 8-table venue in terms of tournament play, I'm sure you probably had more tables up for practice and stuff. Did you like 10 or 12 tables up for practice, or?
Yeah, something depending on how big the courts are, of course. But yeah, we could fit in that. Yeah, and it was a venue. Which
did he have higher hopes? He presumably thought it was going to last longer than 3 or 4 years, which it did.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course he had high hopes with it, and it's a shame that we lost the venue in the end. But it's, with your overheads that high, it's with table tennis, it's difficult to turn a profit.
Yeah. It wouldn't have survived COVID anyway. If it was still up and running, it wouldn't have survived COVID anyway.
No,
so
it killed it, wouldn't it?
No. But they've got another venue now, haven't they?
Yeah, we're based inside a school now. Now we've got a Corby venue and a Kettering venue, which are the Corby one's based inside a school. The Kettering one is based inside like a government building, something like that. And yeah, so.
Yeah, but it's not got such good weekend availability, so they can't do tournaments there anymore. Is that right?
No, exactly. Yeah, we haven't got. We moved the venue around the time that I left for Sweden, but from what I know, I don't think we have so much weekend availability. It's obviously a lot smaller. The conditions aren't as good because it's not a full-time table tennis venue, so it's those types of challenges. But it's more affordable, so you got to go that.
Yeah, for me, if I were going to set, well, I've set up a number of clubs in the past, and for me, I would start small, and then you can always expand once you build up the kind of members and the base. I guess there's another way of doing it. People have different ways of doing it. I always start small and try and build up. In my tournaments as well, I started off on a 4-table venue. I mean, the biggest probably entry we had of any one of my tournaments, Brett was there. I think, what was it, about 150 London Academy last time in February?
Oh, the London Academy 2-star.
That's crazy.
100. No, it was 164, I believe.
164. What was it? 26 tables we had.
Yeah. No, we had more than that. There was, because we put out extra ones in the main foyer bit, didn't we? All the way along.
Yeah.
And it was across three rooms, two main rooms, and upstairs,
and
downstairs
as well.
Yeah,
and there were some classrooms as well.
Yes, and then the main foyer bit was just rows upon tables all the way along. So I think we hit 28 possible. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And there was 4 of us on the day doing it. So I was the main referee, you were the assistant referee, and we had a referee's assistant, and you were two assistant referees really, and a referee's assistant.
Yeah, we had.
And we managed to finish by about 7:30, didn't we?
Yeah,
with 150 people.
I mean,
that's impressive.
Yeah, it was just smooth running. Even with all
we
the
were
organised,
organised,
and and license checking and chasing up and payments and some coaches. Oh man, but it was really smooth. Yeah, I mean we managed to finish really nice and early. It was all done and dusted, and everyone had a really amazing time. So really successful. And here's to the next one.
Yeah. Okay. Another topic would be how difficult or easy or challenging or whatever it is for someone to coach a player who is a better player than themselves. So this is quite relevant for Sam because, I know Adam wasn't Sam's only coach because he had his dad and he had Chris Doran. Initially, I presume Henry Arthur and Tony West coached you at times earlier as well.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of coaches, but certainly Adam from the Table Tennis England show, Table Tennis Scotland show, Adam certainly had a role coaching you as well.
Yeah.
So what are the challenges with someone coaching someone who's like a better player than you?
Yeah. So I think for the coach, it poses some challenges. I know it can be quite intimidating. If I'm coaching a better player, you're kind of scared to give them tips and advice. I know some players here that are better than the coaches. So I think it all depends on the dynamic and the relationship between the two of you. I think I'm of the opinion that everybody can teach you something, because everyone just has a different way of looking at things. But for me and my brother, it didn't matter that he wasn't as good of a player as me. I am incredibly lucky. I truly think he's one of the best coaches in England. I mean, he is fantastic coach. The way he thinks, the way he sets a plan out for you. You know, we were doing things like, so for example, I came off on the Sunday and I was struggling on the forehand off of a drop shot. So I chop, they push, and then I hit that ball. So what he did is it was half multi-ball. So he'd give me one to my backhand, I'd chop it, and then he'd push the specific ball to my forehand, and I had to loop it and hit a can on the other side of the table, a Coke can or whatever, and I was trying to knock it off the table. Full can of Coke. And at the beginning, it was taking me 15, 20 minutes to knock that can of Coke off.
How many hits do you need to knock a full can of Coke off? Probably quite a few.
Yeah. At the time when I wasn't 8 and 9 or so, but now I could probably do it a bit less. But it's just things like that just give a different dynamic to the way we did, as we spoke about on the Table Tennis Scotland show. We think of things as learning, not training. And then by the end, we could do it in 3 or 4 minutes, just bang, first one, bang, second one. And I think he's got a ridiculously good mind and brain for table tennis coaching.
So definitely a lot of the things, I mean, which don't rely on ability, is just thinking of new ideas and new ways of training and new drills. That's completely irrelevant to your standard as a player. Are there any actual advantages that a kind of a lesser player would have in coaching a better player?
Yeah, I think it again depends on the coach. I would say I wouldn't base how good a coach is based on how good they are or were at table tennis, because some people can't explain it and some people can. You know, my brother, his best ranking, I don't know what it was, 150, 200 in England or whatever. But he's one of the best. He's a lot better of a coach than many of the players who were a lot better than him. So I think,
yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, if you're a really talented, really top player, a lot of the time you don't actually know how to explain how things work, because it just happens so naturally for you, and you didn't have to explain it to yourself, because you just picked up a bat and it felt kind of natural. And trying to explain how to do something to someone who's just not getting it, okay, that's a bit different from what we're talking about. But coaching can be difficult if things come too naturally to you.
I think that's why one of the reasons Adam was so good as a coach, because nothing really came so easy for him. So he had to. I'll
tell you a little bit about, because obviously I met Adam when I met you at my training camps, and no offense to Adam whatsoever, but talent was not something that he had in table tennis.
No, and I think he knows that as well.
Is he 2 years older than you? 1.5 years, or
1.5, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he came along and say you were 11 and he was 13 or something like that, and you could beat him 11 love without even having to think about it. And it was like there was a massive gap, even though he was older. And presumably you started about the same time, did you?
Yeah, although he was never as serious as I was. He never went to that phase. When I was 9 or 8 or however old I was, I went to that phase of playing 3, 4, 5 times a week, and he never did that. He was just playing on summer camps and Easter camps.
But fair play to him now. I didn't see it, when he was 13 or whatever. I never saw him becoming the player he is now, because as you say, he's top 150, 200, whatever he is. I think he passed me out in the rankings recently, which I was surprised by. But I've never lost to him. But yeah, he seems to have got into it a bit more, and obviously put the hours in, and he's made himself into a decent player. So it just goes to show that talent isn't everything.
No, exactly. And yeah, it's clear to, I think, everybody who sees him that he's one of the hardest workers in table tennis, because he has to be. He doesn't. It don't come easy to him. So we'd spend like 8, 9, 10 hours in the hall just working on one thing, and it just slowly come. But you can see it's going in. But if it takes him a bit longer than everybody else or than most other people, then that's fine, because he works twice as hard. So it's all right for him.
Yeah. So my quick opinion on coaching someone who's a better player than you.
Yeah.
I think the main obstacle to that is the player not wanting to, or not trusting or believing in someone who's not as good a player. So it's like, oh, well, if you're such a good coach, how come you can't beat me? And if you know it all, if you can tell me what to do, how come you can't beat me? And I think it can be the wrong attitude. Sorry.
I think it is completely the wrong attitude. You can always learn something from someone.
But
not to say that being a better player can't be an advantage, because obviously it can, because you're going to be a better blocker, better feeder. Might make it easier for you to be good at multi-ball, but obviously if you put the time in, you can become a good multi-ball feeder even if you're not a good player yourself. And I know myself, when I was kind of up and coming, if you know what I mean, going up the ranks, I would never have considered having a coach who couldn't beat me. If I could beat that. There was a few coaches when I first moved to Brighton. I was thinking about getting 1-to-1, and I probably would have done it maybe if they were better players. But I could beat all the coaches quite easily. 20 years ago when I wasn't even that good. So that completely turned me off having 1-to-1, and I've never actually had a single 1-to-1 session in my life. And that's probably been the reason. I've had sessions of, you might call them 1-to-1 on training camps, where you get 10, 15 minutes with a coach, but I've never paid for a 1-to-1 session with another coach. Well, and that's probably has held me back. Sorry?
Maybe you should try. I'm available.
Yes, Brett. I think I've gone past the stage where I'm looking to really improve my game. I'm just happy to enjoy competing. I don't really train anymore. I do still go to Eslov once a year for a training camp, but it's kind of a social thing. It's fun, like a holiday. I do train hard, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that I'm going to come back and suddenly I'm going to be better as a player. I don't have any illusions about that. But I obviously you're going to have some improvement, but whether it's longer lived or short lived. When I was 38, I decided I wanted to play for Ireland in the veterans. So I did, I think it was 2015. I went to the first Eslov camp, the first time I went to Eslov. And I also went to a camp in France, one in Germany, one in England. The next year, I think I did B75 camp in Denmark. Highly, highly, highly recommended. I did that for 3 weeks. Still did the Eslov camp for 1 week, and then I did another 3 weeks in Enbon in France. Good camp in Enbon. I didn't like it as much as the others because I felt it was a bit too serious. Not that I don't take my table tennis seriously, but there was no kind of fun. The coaches were quite, they weren't very they didn't praise you very much, I didn't find. But maybe that was because I was there for 3 weeks after already doing 4 weeks of training camp. So I did 7 weeks in a row. So
that's a lot.
And it was a good camp, don't get me wrong. Standard was very good, But anyway, then I think it was 2 years ago, I did 4 weeks of camps. It was Eslov and B75. Came back 120 hours training in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it was. And I came back and didn't have a good start to the season, whereas previously I had, after training, had a good start to the season. And I had quite a bad start to the season. It was kind of up and down. I had some good results. And then I thought to myself, I'm not sure how much more I'm going to be improving. So what I decided to do is to go back and become a coach on the camp in B75, which is what I did. I spoke to the main organizer, Lars, and came back the next year as a coach. And I was going to be going there again this year as a coach, but obviously COVID happened, so the camp was almost all but cancelled. They had a very small number of local players on the camp. So, question, I'll offer it to Brett first, and then Sam can give his view as well. What are the challenges facing newly qualified coaches? Getting started, maybe looking to do it as a job, but maybe not initially, maybe doing it volunteering initially or whatever. But what's it like becoming a newly qualified coach?
The greatest challenge that I found, and especially with people that were taking the exam at the same time that I was, because of my background, I've had some, thing with table tennis, at a young age. So I've got that little bit of experience with the game anyway. But there was people there that was taking the exam that had zero background in table tennis. That they never played it when they were young, but they got interested later on in life. The greatest challenge I found, that I've noticed, even with myself now being a fully qualified coach now, it's finding those opportunities. Getting yourself, into those little spots where people they take notice of you. They're like, oh yeah, I must go and, book a session with him, and try him out. It's finding that opportunities, which I found it's very difficult, as a brand new, newly qualified coach. You can't just rely on, oh, look, here's my qualification. That's not going to cut it. You've got to find those opportunities. And if you haven't got a background in table tennis or any connection at all, it's extremely difficult to try and
from my point of view as a full-time coach now for 15 years, I was lucky. I got basically handed a job almost in table tennis coaching. The local sports development officer approached me out of the blue and said he had this funding and did I want to do table tennis coaching. And I was in the middle of a PGCE to become a teacher, having had 2 degrees, one in zoology and one in pharmaceutical studies. And I was going to be a teacher, science teacher or whatever. And he said, initially it's going to be part-time and we'll build it up to full-time. And he got me going into all schools and the main club session at Horsham Table Tennis Club. But I don't think, I'm 99% certain that if he hadn't done that, I wouldn't be a table tennis coach.
Wow.
Now you can apply to places like Greenhouse and whatever for jobs as a full-time coach, but you probably, you need to have experience, don't you, to get those kind of jobs. And how do you get the experience? Because it's difficult. You could start off doing it voluntarily, then you could get a part-time job in the daytime and then start doing a paid job in the evening with table tennis coaching. But doing it on your own is difficult. Really, really difficult. Yeah. I know a lot of the coaches, people like Lee McHugh, he mentioned on one of our shows that he started up his club. Well, he basically works in about 5 different clubs, but he's also does a lot of one-to-one, which is completely different to me because I work in loads of different schools. And most of my schools now that I'm working in, I personally contacted them mostly by email, because a lot of the schools that I used to work with when I used to work with Horsham District Council, I no longer work with for one reason or another. One school, for example, decided to have hot lunches, so we couldn't do it at lunchtime anymore. Another school had a new head teacher and decided they didn't want table tennis anymore. So these things happen. So as and when these kind of things happen, I just contacted other local schools, and I live in Horsham, but I'm only coaching about 2 or 3 schools in the Horsham area. I go to Crawley for most of them. So yeah, it isn't easy. But I became self-employed in about in 2009. I was self-employed, but I was still working for the council. And then in 2011, I stepped away from Horsham Table Tennis Club and I started Horsham Spinners Table Tennis Club, and I became completely independent. And I felt that was a good move because, it wasn't like my job was kind of here. It was like I had lots of different jobs. So if one school decided they didn't want table tennis anymore, I still had options of going to my own. And I was more independent. I could choose and pick and choose and, that kind of thing. But yeah. Sam, maybe from your point of view, from you probably know from Adam's point of view, as him starting out as a new young coach, what kind of challenges did he face, and what advantages did he have? He probably had advantages, didn't he? Really, as well.
Yeah, he had a big advantage that my dad had the table tennis club, and that he was working at the table tennis club from start to finish in the old venue. So I think that really helped him out. But I think it's just hard to get into table tennis coaching. I think, as we were speaking about before, just because you're a better player doesn't necessarily mean you're a better coach, but of course it helps.
It might not mean that, especially, but if a top player, for example, if you decided I'm going to be a coach tomorrow, you get your qualification and you make a big poster and you say Sam Wilson, under 21 number 1, or whatever number you are in the men's, and then you put and you get a flyer or whatever else, you're probably automatically going. I'm not saying that you're not going to be a good coach, but even if you weren't, just the fact that you're a good player would give people in their mind that you're going to be a better coach. Whereas if somebody who maybe plays in the second highest division of their local league, or even in the Premier, but kind of a low Premier Division player, well, take Brett for example. If he decided to do the same thing, so he's one of the top players. Are you the very top player in your Division 1, the second highest division?
In the conference, yes.
Yeah. So and you could play Premier. You could beat someone. Yeah. But if you did the same thing, because no one knows who you are and you haven't got the kind of playing experience, people would automatically, if it was a choice between you and Sam,
they would.
No offense to Brett, most people would pick Sam.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. That's the thing about.
But that's not to say that every player that's ranked up where Sam's ranked is going to be better than every player as a coach than every player that's kind of in your kind of standard as a player, Brett.
Yeah, I think it gives. Yeah, of course, it gives you a big advantage if you are or were a higher level player, of course, because you've got more experience, you know more about the game.
But Brett's had a lot of experience, but he had a break from the game, so he was a top junior when he was younger.
Yeah, exactly. And Brett would be for sure better than a lot of the people higher up in the ranking list than he is, because the ranking is it's pull, it's if you want to be a coach, it's kind of free advertising. You know what I mean? As you said, if I wanted to be a coach, it's easier. So.
Have you got any coaching qualification as a matter of interest?
Yeah, I've got a level 1 coaching qualification.
And have you done any coaching at all, or in the club or anything like that?
Yeah, I did a bit in Corby Smash. Not so much because I was focusing on my own game a lot. But I'd do some of the Saturday sessions sometimes, or the evening sessions, just when they needed a bit of help, or my brother wasn't available, my dad wasn't available, I'd step in and I'd be able.
Couple of quick questions. At what point did you think I'm going to do table tennis full time?
Yeah, it depends what you mean as full time.
Doing what you're doing now, playing 5 days a week, 10 sessions a week.
Yeah. So, because when I had my health problems for 3.5 years, I was forced out of table tennis, but also forced out of school. So I wasn't able to go to school for 3.5 years.
But Sam, weren't you and Adam homeschooled anyway?
Yeah, we were homeschooled on and off. So I was when I got the health problems, I was halfway through year 8 and I was attending a grammar school at the time. But we had both been homeschooled before that. But then when I got better, 15.5, 16, I couldn't take my A-levels because no one would accept me to take A-levels because I hadn't done my GCSEs. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to spend two years doing my GCSEs and I can't get into a school, so maybe it'd take longer with self-study, then I'd be, however old when I'm doing my A-levels and then stuff after that. So then I started working with my mum around that time. So I was playing part-time with my mum, and then From memory, not exactly sure. I kind of just, there wasn't a specific time where I thought I want to play full time, but it was, I was doing half table tennis, half working for my mum. And then over time, I just dropped a day here and there with my mum to play a bit more table tennis. And then when
did you get your GCSEs, A levels? How far did you get in your education?
No, so I stopped. I had to stop school when I was halfway through year 8, so I didn't get any GCSEs. But then when I was playing table tennis later, I decided to go back and get a math GCSE, and
So presumably you're probably not. You haven't got any plans of doing A levels in university in the future, or am I wrong?
Yeah. For now, not so much. But I know when I was working with my mum, I was working as a maths and English teacher with her for a private school that she runs. Anyone from 4 to 16 years old, and I knew half the A level syllabus anyway. Even though I picked up things really easily in school. I was a really bright kid, so the education was never really the problem. It's just getting the qualifications, and if I wanted to spend the time getting the qualifications.
So you're not sure, maybe in the future sometime.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've actually ordered a couple of A level books, to learn the maths A level, and I know if I spent a year or two kind of studying that, I think I'd be all right. You know what I mean? Yeah. To answer the original question, sorry, I got a bit sidetracked.
Sorry.
So I think at the beginning I was working 4 days a week with my mum, doing table tennis every day. Then when I got a bit better and felt like it, I said to my mum, "Can I go down to 3 days?" Then I went down to 2 days. Then when I got my car, I eventually stopped working with my mum pretty much altogether. And then I was
your mum must be quite advanced level then, if she was able to take you up to that kind of stage. Then is she a teacher or something?
Yeah. Yes. So she owns her own private tutoring business.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I must have missed that.
Yeah. Before that, she was a computer programmer working for Microsoft. So she's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
Go on.
So I kind of just weaned off the work and went more onto table tennis. When I got my car and I was able to travel, I was training in Sheffield and Nottingham and places like that. So yeah, it kind of just went gradually.
So and what about how long do you think you're going to stick with it, and what are your kind of goals?
Yeah, it depends how it goes, of course. My plan is to, of course, being a professional table tennis player, but I know how hard that is. There's so many things that can stop you. Yeah. You can get away. So
you can get injured, for example. So at the moment, are you earning enough to live as kind of a semi-professional or whatever?
Yeah, not quite. I know. So basically, the more leagues you play in, so let's say you get a certain amount for playing in a league. So usually you get paid per time you play instead of yearly contracts at this age and standard. So if I wanted to play France, Denmark, Sweden, Spain, Greece, whatever, I'd be flying all over the place every week. But I could probably earn enough to support myself. But I'm putting my career above that because I know that I wouldn't improve as fast. So
so the Eslov situation, you pay out for that, for the privilege of being able to train there and whatever, and you obviously got accommodation.
I pay Eslov for training and accommodation. Yeah, and before Corona, because of my contracts, I was able to pay some of that, but now with COVID, all my matches in France have been cancelled. So
if you don't play, you don't get paid anything then.
Exactly. Yeah. And that it works at this standard because they can't afford to be paying a bunch of people if they get injured, for example, like I am now.
You're injured now, are you? Oh,
yeah,
what's the injury?
I'm injured. We don't quite know how bad it is yet. But yeah, I'll have some more information in a while, the days I think actually.
Okay, and goals. Where do you think you can get in ranking wise? Or I guess you got to look at world rankings if you're going to be a professional player.
Yeah.
You're going to have a good world ranking.
Yeah.
Have you got a world ranking already, or not yet?
Not sure. If I have got one, I don't know what it is. I think I've only played one senior tournament, one ITTF senior tournament, which was Finlandia Open 2019. I think I don't want to set I don't like setting like specific world ranking goals for myself necessarily, because there's I put more pressure on myself and there's already enough pressure.
Okay. Let me ask the question in a different way. What kind of world ranking, as a general rule, would mean a person is kind of good at a high enough level to call themselves a professional player, where they're kind of earning money as a job from playing table tennis and competing?
Yeah, again, it depends how many leagues you play. You could be 500 in the world and play a couple of different kind of support yourself roughly from what I know. But of course it changes. Some clubs pay more, some clubs don't pay as much.
So the earnings you'd be getting from table tennis would be enough to kind of support your full-time training and your accommodation, food, all that.
And
if you were,
of course, it all depends. If you went to a place with cheaper training, cheaper apartment, then obviously you don't need to earn as much. Then maybe it could be not quite as good of a standard. But if you want to just play in one league and just focus all on that, train a lot, you're not flying everywhere, 200-300 in the world, something like that.
Okay, another quick question. Obviously you played one tournament. You may have a ranking from that tournament, but if you do, it's probably not going to be a correct ranking because you've only played one tournament. Where do you think you would be in the world rankings if you'd played like 30 or 40 tournaments? Yeah. You played loads of tournaments. Where would you think you'd be right now at your current ability?
Honestly, I couldn't say. I don't know.
Is there anybody that you know that you train with that does play? Anyone that you know of has a world ranking that you think, I'm about the same time as him?
Yeah, maybe 800, something like that. But of course, that's 800 on the list, and I'd be lower than 800 in China if they all played on the circuit.
No, of course,
yeah. Here's a quick one. Your best win. Who was your best scalp in a table tennis?
My best win was a guy from South America at the Finlandia 2019 Open. At the time was a 286, 285 in the world for men. That's my best win. Really, really good win. Happy with that one.
That's excellent. Yeah. Just go back to Adam again quickly. Is he still coaching, or is he's mentioned he's doing a different job? Is he still doing table tennis coaching, or?
No, not as far as I know.
No.
He's now kind of taken over what was my job, working with my mum, and now developed that. So they have a private tutoring business, but with COVID, everything's online. So he's sorting out everything. He's growing the business. He's tutoring the kids. He's doing everything.
Oh, good. So another question we had was pros and cons of having a brother who plays table tennis. I mean, are there any cons? Maybe it's all pros. I mean, what are your opinions on that, Sam?
Yeah, for me, it was pretty much all pros. It worked out all right, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
I was really lucky I had Adam. If I didn't have Adam, I wouldn't be where I am today. Absolutely no chance. I think cons can be you compare yourself too much. You put too much pressure on yourself to be better than the other one. Luckily, I find that wasn't so much for
the con can be often for the older one, where they start off being the better player, and then suddenly the younger one, because maybe they started at the same time, the younger one usually overtakes the older one. Seems to happen 90% of the time, and then when the younger one overtakes the older one often quits or doesn't play so much. I know that wasn't the case in yours because you were already betting Alan from the start.
Yeah.
And he's involved in the game. But like Bryn Drinkle, Paul Drinkle is a good example.
Yeah.
Bryn Drinkle was junior #1 national champion, I think, and obviously was a good player. But obviously Paul Drinkle outshone him, and Bryn quit probably shortly after juniors, and obviously Paul got to like 30 something in the world. So
I think it can be a hard mental challenge for the older one who was better, and they're getting chased down by the younger one, as you said.
Yeah. Okay. And then another topic is we wanted to discuss about mental health issues. You mentioned you had some issues age was it 13 or something until 15 or 16. So I don't know if you wanted to discuss maybe a bit what the issues were, how they can arise, how people can deal with them, especially in these COVID times where people, a lot of people, some people are fine. For example, I've changed jobs. I can't do my table tennis coaching job. I'm doing teaching assistant. I'm trying to keep myself busy and doing some training courses, that kind of thing. Other people might be stuck at home, nothing to do, no sport. How can they deal with it? So start maybe with yourself and go on to the other topics then.
I've struggled with mental health. So it's a thing that's very, very close to me and something I know a lot about because I've struggled with it from the age of 11 or 12 or something along those lines. And I'm still struggling with it even now. So I think there's nowhere near enough. Like, it's not talked about enough. I think especially among men and young men, because it's this whole thing of man up, you shouldn't think like that, and it's getting a lot better.
Kind of a stigma attached to it, isn't there? Almost.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting a lot better now.
Are you comfortable about telling us what your issues were personally, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's of course changes over time. I had just depression, anxiety. I was diagnosed with both at the age of, I think I was diagnosed at 12.
That sounds like a very young age for that kind of a diagnosis.
Yeah, and I think it runs in the family. At other times, it's been a struggle for many members of my family.
And I believe you were kind of almost shut in your room most of the time, didn't want to come out, or was it physical as well? Was there a physical aspect to it as well?
Yeah, between 12 and a half and 15 and a half, 16. I pretty much lived in my room for about 3.5 years, didn't go out, and it caused, of course, a lot of problems going forwards, both mentally and physically. Because
so what, you feel physically drained, you've mentally no motivation to go anywhere, or what? Maybe give us an idea, because a lot of people haven't experienced it.
I think the easiest way to describe it is when your life is going okay, when everything should be okay and it's not, when I've had really, really, really tough times also quite recently. Everything's going well. Table tennis is going brilliant. I'm living with my girlfriend. We've been together a year now, which is fantastic. Got a fantastic family, earning money from table tennis, and you're just sad beyond means. Just don't want to get out of bed, don't see the point in living at all. And that's what I would describe it as, when everything should be fine, when you should be happy. And you're not.
What are the kind of physical side effects to that?
Yeah, well, if I was pretty much just in bed for 3.5 years. So, you get weak after a while, your muscles
must start to degrade or whatever.
Start to fade away. Not just in.
And presumably people were trying to, your parents, your brother, trying to get you active, but just nothing they could do.
I was in a very, very hard and dark and deep place there.
And where you on? Did you have to take tablets or anything like that, or?
Yeah. I was on medication. Lots of different things. We experimented a lot. Therapy.
What do you think helped the most? Like, was talking therapy good, or was it more medication, or what got you out of it?
Or just get more involved with table tennis, really.
Yeah.
But he was involved with table tennis before that happened, so that isn't necessarily the reason.
No, but it was table tennis. When I was 15 and a half, 16, I started playing table tennis again, and it got better and better and better and better.
Yeah, but my point is, you could have done that at any time, and you were also doing it before you got ill.
I see what you mean. I think it's hard to say. I think I was too far gone for a lot of that period to help myself, or to allow other people to help me. And
so was it quite a gradual repair, or
really gradual repair. I mean, when you're stuck in your room at such a young age for that long, you don't see people, anything like that. I remember from even when I started to play table tennis, it took me 6 months to really, table tennis really helped me. I think also if table tennis wasn't there, I could for sure be in a really dark place now, and I'm really lucky I'm not. But I think it's important for people to speak about it.
So do you think, do you have techniques now for dealing with it? Because you say you still get aspects of it now.
Yeah, I have a lot of techniques now. I'm still working with a psychologist, still on medication actually. So I'm definitely not out of the woods in terms of that, and I think it's something that needs to be spoke about a lot more.
So do you think speaking about it, because a lot of people are reluctant to do that, do you think that is like almost therapeutic in itself?
Yeah, completely. I mean, that's what a lot of therapy is, just getting things out in the open, because you're feeling stuff and you don't know what, and everyone has this, you're feeling stuff and you don't know why you're feeling it. Everybody feels sad some days and don't know what it is, and that's what talking therapy does. It gets those issues up in the air so you can deal with them.
And also it means that people know your issues and they can be more supportive and help you along the way.
And I think it just needs to be talked about more, and I hope that me talking about it a bit here gives other people and young people, gives them the confidence to speak out, and the fact that it's okay to be struggling with mental health, especially in these times.
Yeah, I think you're setting a great example to other young people and other people,
100%.
as to talk about it and open
even
up.
In sport, it's a lot more common in sport, of course, because there might be body image issues in many sports. Trying to push yourself, comparing yourself to others, that is sport, and that can be a quite damaging thing.
Well, it's a pressurized environment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and yeah.
Great. Okay. Any follow-up questions, Brett, before we call it a day?
I'm sure.
Oh, one quick one. Just very last topic. Just a quick talk about the fact, the influence your father had on you being an international table tennis player.
Yeah. I think, of course, he had a lot of impact. I'm almost tempted to say though that my brother and Chris Doran had more of an impact in terms of actually in my game. My dad was working a lot. But a lot of I want to follow in his footsteps and stuff like that. And he got
you started, obviously, and
exactly. Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly, and that's also a big help. And he's continuing to finance me, which really helps. If he didn't, then I couldn't be doing what I am today, which is what I want to do. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah, it's great to have a role model, and it sounds like Colin's a very good role model. And I've been to a training camp in Corby, and I was impressed with his the way he structured the sessions and the way his style of coaching was very approachable, people centered, kind of individualized. Do you think he was more influential as a coach or as a player? The fact that he was a good coach or the fact that he was a good player? A
bit of both. I I think as a player, it more just inspired me to, follow in his footsteps. But so I think that kind of inspired me more. But I think his coaching helped me more. It gave me, tips and tricks and stuff like that.
One more question that just occurred to me. At what age did you become a better player than him? I'm assuming you are now. So what age did you become a better player than him?
I'd say a couple of years ago when I was 17.
He's still a good player. I played him in a tournament, I don't know, just before the I think it was the last tournament held at your Corby Smash old venue.
Yeah.
I gave him a good game. It was 3-1, but I think he won juice in the fourth game. But he won the tournament. He beat everybody. He's still a useful player. So.
Yeah, he's still class, but
left-hander as well.
Yeah, but I think his body's given up on him a bit too much. A couple of years ago, a bit too much to beat me anymore.
Yeah. Good. Okay, well, it's been a fantastic show. Again, very informative, very interesting. And thank you, Sam, for joining us. And thanks, Brett, for co-hosting the show. And being that it's lockdown, we might try and get the show going a bit more regularly, possibly once a week, we'll see, depending on guests. So if you're interested in being on the show, give us a bell and we'll try and arrange it. Okay, see you next time, everybody. Thanks, everybody.